Telly Paretta is sitting alone on a swing in the park. The woman looks desperate. She has many photographs of her son in the house. Some time ago, her 9-year-old son Sam passed away. Telly constantly goes through his things, watches videos from the family archives, as well as photos from the photo album. Sam died 14 months ago in an airplane crash. Telly still can't come to terms with the loss. Telly received a call from her husband Jim, who suggested going out to dinner today at a restaurant. However, Telly said she wanted to stay home. Elliot, a longtime friend of Telly's, is concerned about her. Telly promised that they would go somewhere together someday. After noticing disoriented Telly in the parking lot, certain man asked if she needed help. Telly said she couldn't find her car, which she parked there yesterday. The car turned out to be nearby. To cope with her grief, Telly attends therapy sessions with Dr. Jack Muntz. Telly admitted that she can't let go of the past. Memories of her son are all she has left. Learning that his wife decided to return to work, Jim suggested celebrating. He believes it will be good for her. In the bedroom, seeing that Sam was not in the family photo, Telly was puzzled and demanded an explanation from her husband. Telly was sure that her husband replaced the picture, although Jim denied it. Telly left home to take a walk alone. On the swing she saw Ash Carella, who also lost his daughter in the same plane crash. Since then, Ash has been drinking a lot. When Telly returned home at night, Jim was already asleep. Unlike her husband, Telly can't forget the son. Falling asleep, she again thought of Sam, who was the meaning of her life. On that fateful day, she saw Sam off on the plane. Telly returned to work, but it couldn't distract her. All of Telly's thoughts revolve around her son. Whenever Telly goes back to Sam's room, it helps her maintain a connection with him. Fetching the photo album, Telly didn't find any pictures there. She left an angry voicemail for Jim, not understanding why her husband wants to erase the memory of their son. Reviewing tapes from the family archive, Telly realized that all the recordings were erased. This threw her into despair. Upon receiving the voicemail from his wife, Jim immediately returned home. Telly told her husband that she could no longer live with him and see him. Jim tried to convince his wife that there were never any recordings on the tapes. Telly stopped seeing certain things, which means the treatment is working. Telly doesn't understand what her husband is talking about. Dr. Muntz came to the couple's house. He confirmed Jim's words that Sam Paretta never existed. According to the doctor, all her memories of Sam are imagined. This is called pseudo-amnesia, when people create an alternative life for themselves. Jim said to his wife that during her pregnancy, she lost their baby and barely survived. Telly in turn doesn't understand why the doctor and her husband are doing this. When Telly began to behave violent, Dr. Muntz said that if she lost control, hospitalization would be necessary. Telly intends to prove to them that Sam is real. At her workplace, they had joint photos, but it turned out that the photos were of her with the husband, not the son. Realizing the horror of the situation, Telly ran away. Jim tried to stop her, but Telly left anyway. She went to a public library and asked for newspapers printed 14 months ago. There were no mentions of children from Brooklyn or the missing plane in any of the newspapers. Telly cannot believe that Sam was truly a figment of her imagination. In the evening, she met Elliot and said that she argued with Jim about Sam. Elliot asked who Sam was. Hearing that Sam is Telly's son, Elliot was puzzled. Telly remembers how her friend often looked after Sam and how she gave him a baseball cap that he loved. When Telly saw her husband, who had finally found her, she would run again. She went to the only person who would understand her, Ash Carella. Telly vividly remembers coming to this apartment with her son. In the past, Ash was a famous hockey player, and Sam was friends with Ash's daughter, Lauren. Ash denied ever having a daughter. When the man, drunk, fell asleep, Telly looked around his apartment. Seeing a hole in the wallpaper, Telly tore it off, revealing a large child's drawing underneath. In the morning, Telly made breakfast. Awakened, Ash said he missed the moment when they got married. Telly disregarded his sarcasm. Most importantly, she confirmed Lauren's existence. Seeing that Telly had torn the wallpaper in his private room, Ash was certainly not pleased. Telly continued to insist that Lauren loved drawing on the walls here. Ash denied it, claiming that the previous house occupants had changed the wallpaper. But Telly is sure she and Ash saw off Sam and Lauren on the plane together. They also attended the funerals together. Ash doesn't remember any of that. He never had children. Thinking Telly was insane, Ash called the police. He was truly sorry, but in his opinion, Telly needed help. The police took Telly. Ash was no longer sure of anything. On the street, the police were stopped by Carl Dayton from National Security. He said Telly Paretta would go with him. Entering that same room again, Ash remembered his daughter. Lauren was indeed here. This made Ash cry and then run out onto the street. He demanded the agents release Telly. While the woman sat in the car, Ash shouted that he remembered. Ash tried to confront these people, and Telly ran away. Carl Dayton ran after her. Ash managed to break free and ran. Carl continued to chase Telly around the city. Finally, she managed to get away. Looking up, she saw the outline of a strange object in the sky. Jim reported his wife missing to the police. He explained that she had a severe post-traumatic disorder. Learning that national security was interested in his wife, Jim was puzzled. It sounded like madness. Telly walks through the city, reflecting. Now she knows for sure that her son was real, as was Lauren. And Telly is ready to do anything to get to the truth. At night, Ash came back to the swings. Telly knew she would find him here. Now Ash understands that he and Telly are not crazy. Sensing something amiss, they decided to leave. Telly shared that lately she feels like someone is watching her. And it's not the intelligence services, it's UFOs. Thousands of people constantly disappear without a trace, and special services could not erase the memories of their relatives, as well as destroy all the photos and references. For Ash, it's very difficult to believe, yet there's no other explanation. They intended to find some motel, but their car was rammed by an intelligence service vehicle. Telly and Ash ran away, and agents pursued them. Another car blocked their path. However, Telly and Ash didn't stop and continued to run. Then they hid in a field while the agents spread out on the street. One thing is clear, they intend to find them at any cost. After the agents left, Telly and Ash went to the nearest motel. At night, Dr. Muntz received a call from Telly, who said she found a person whose daughter was on the same plane. Now someone is pursuing them. Dr. Muntz tried to convince Telly it was just her imagination. Realizing the doctor didn't believe her, Telly hung up. Ash bought some groceries and alcohol. Telly advised him to quit drinking, but Ash said it wasn't her concern. Now Ash is only concerned about why memories of their children are so important and who's behind it. Telly can't stop thinking about her son and the day he boarded the plane. No one has seen that plane since. Upon waking up, Telly tried to awaken Ash, but he drank too much yesterday. Telly had to pour cold water on him. When the man came to his senses, Telly said she still feels Sam. Probably, he, Lauren and the others are alive. Otherwise, why would someone erase their memories? Ash found this logical. Seeing the police outside, Telly and Ash realized it was time to run. Suddenly a strange man appeared out of nowhere on the road. Ash had to swerve, but a police car blocked their path from behind. Ash drove forward again. The man was still in their way, but that didn't make Ash stop. Telly seems to have seen this man somewhere before. Suddenly Telly received a call. It was Detective Pope, who is handling Telly's case. No one believes that Sam and Lauren are real. But Telly told the detective that not only she remembers the children, but also Ash Corella. Together they will bring them back at any cost. Waiting for her husband to return from work, Telly approached him near the office building. But Jim doesn't remember her at all and claims he was never married. The Secret Service agents again tracked down Telly and Ash, who upon seeing them, hurriedly went into hiding. Detective Pope arrived at the scene of the incident. According to eyewitnesses, the person who stood in front of the fugitive's car calmly got up and left after the crash. The interrogation was interrupted by representatives from the Federal Service, who asked the detective to call if anything was known about Telly Parrott or Ash Corell, and asked if their investigation was in any way related to the plane crash. Carl Dayton replied that he knew nothing about the accident. Telly and Ash stopped at some motel again. As always, Ash drank. Telly suffers too, but unlike Ash, she doesn't try to run away from problems. For Ash, this is a way to escape reality. He can't believe he forgot his own daughter. Eventually, for Lauren's sake, Ash poured out the alcohol. Jack Muntz came to the police station to talk to Detective Pope. Previously, the doctor regarded Telly's condition as delusional, but now he has doubts. Jack feels guilty for not being able to help Telly. That's why he intends to help the detective find her. At night, Ash woke up to strange sounds and went outside to check. Seeing a man with a camera in the bushes, Ash knocked him out. Telly and Ash held Al Pedalise against his will, demanding answers about who he is and who he works for. But above all, they are interested in where their children are. Al Pedalise refused to cooperate, but when Ash began to use force, the agent became more compliant. According to Al, intelligence services have nothing to do with this, they are just facilitating. When Telly and Ash demanded the truth, Al replied that the truth doesn't fit into the human consciousness. Neither Al nor anyone from the intelligence services knows where the children are. Ash and Telly were supposed to forget, just like everyone else. At some point, the building collapsed due to an unknown force. Al Pedalise disappeared. Telly stared into the sky for a long time, feeling a foreign presence. The next day, at the site of the explosion, the detective found a message from Telly and Ash, asking for help and claiming that their children were removed. Additionally, Agent Al Pedalise's identification card was found here. Telly remembered the name of that airline. Perhaps the plane and the pilots are also part of the experiment. Telly and Ash arrived at the airline office to talk to the head. Telly introduced herself as Mr. Shinner's assistant. It turned out the firm went bankrupt. There was only a bank employee here, valuing the firm's property. Learning Robert Shinner's address, Telly and Ash went to his house, which looked uninhabited. Telly and Ash decided to spend the night here. This place is where no one will surely look for them. Detective Pope and Dr. Muntz learned that the fugitives had been to the airline office and went to Mr. Shinner's address. Only now, Telly vividly remembered this man, as did Ash. They were going to go to the airport from which the plane took off. Both of them felt a foreign presence in the house. All the doors and windows were locked. Ash had to break the glass. The police car had already arrived. Ash told Telly to run, and he was planning to hold the detective, and told Dr. Muntz to stay in the car. She intended to catch Ash, but instead of him, she saw Mr. Shinner. As the man didn't obey her commands, and fired, but all the wounds on his body instantly healed, and realized that Shinner was not human. Meanwhile, Ash convinced Jack to go help Telly. However, the woman hadn't gone far because her car got stuck in the woods, and found Telly faster than Ash. Now the detective believed Telly's words and promised that they would find Sam and Lauren at all costs. Suddenly an unknown force pulled into the sky. Soon Telly and Ash found each other. But before they went to the airport, Shinner found them and grabbed Ash. During the struggle, the men broke the window. An unknown force lifted Shinner, but Ash fell down. In horror, Telly ran out of the building. There were shards on the road, but there was no Ash. Muntz took Telly out of here. The doctor insisted that they should go to the police, but Telly said they needed to go to the airport. The police won't help them. Shinner was already waiting for them at the airport. Jack asked him to stop this and act on his conscience. At that moment, Telly realized that Dr. Muntz originally knew about the experiment. According to Jack, the experiment has been going on for many years. Jack doesn't want to help the aliens, but he has no choice. All Telly wants is to get her son back, even though Jack claims it's impossible. Determined, Telly followed Shinner. Telly demanded to know where her son was. Shinner said that Sam is just a memory, and if Telly imagines him here, he will appear. Sam actually appeared nearby. Telly ran after him, but Sam kept moving away from her. At one point, Shinner appeared in front of Telly, explaining that the essence of the experiment was to study the connection between parents and children. Telly firmly said she would never forget her son. At that moment, Shinner shouted, and the panes of glass flew out of the windows. Telly ran, but Shinner caught up with her. To him, Telly is a paradox because she is the only one among the subjects who didn't give up. Shinner now wants to get Telly's very first memory of Sam. Telly remembered it and briefly lost consciousness. When Shinner asked what the boy's name was, Telly didn't understand who he was talking about. Shinner didn't immediately realize that Telly had deceived him. No matter what he did, Telly would never forget Sam. Before Shinner could do anything, he was pulled into the sky. Telly ran to the playground, calling out for Sam in desperation. When she found her son, she hugged him tightly. Finally, they were reunited. Lauren also returned. Looking at the children, Telly couldn't hold back her tears of happiness. Seeing Ash, she realized that he remembered nothing about those events. But now it doesn't matter. They'd gotten reacquainted.